This is the third time something like this has happened this year. Wizards of the Coast doing stupid, acting stupid, and being tyrants. I'll admit, I tend to put the dollar first, but that comes from my time in lesser income neighborhoods. But that's a completely different story entirely. Let's talk about the things that Hasbro and Wizards of the Coast have done. I've already talked about their trying to be the one tabletop RPG to rule them all by saying third-party stuff can't be making things anymore without giving them a paycheck. A lot of people saw that and stepped away, but even more looked at that and forgave them as soon as they said, "Oh, we're sorry you found out." This, without a doubt in my mind, caused them to believe that they had a safety net, that they are too big to fail and had too much power to allow any lesser known to exist. What I like to call this is the Nintendo mindset. Before that, they also had a bit of a ruckus with their original IP, Magic the Gathering. Let's see, 2 stories here. Number 1, worthless anniversary cards that aren't actually cards, but show bits of old cards that are too thick to be used in a deck, and are still banned in professional games. How much did these cards cost? $1,000. And the cards were picked at random. Then there's the booster packs hidden and would usually be worthless, with a single card from the new set hiding the booster pack that you were buying. The packs were always old packs that usually sold for like $4 at most. But these packs were sold for, oh hey, 12 or more bucks depending on where you were in the world. And the new cards sold seemed to be rather universal, almost always the same card. So this was way overpriced given everyone could get one. Some snake thing, I don't care for card games. I've tried to get into them, but I just can't. So I don't know what it was or how bad it was. But we've got what happened on Monday. What happened? Oh, let's see. Wizards of the Coast had a shipping mistake. Guy got cards 2 weeks early, who's a YouTuber, by the way. Guy was excited and showed them off. Nothing wrong yet. But then Wizards of the Coast sent the Pinkerton Detective Agency, a group originally known for brutally forcing citizens to pay taxes that would lead them to bankruptcy, and is nowadays known for union busting and bullying. What did the Pinkertons do? They went to this guy's house, threatened him and his wife, made her cry, allegedly threatened life in prison, which they can't actually do and is a crime, by the way. So that's why I say allegedly there. And that's just what the family stated. What has Wizards confirmed? Well, that they hired the Pinkertons to do this. Which isn't much, but it's way overboard. Why did I mention Nintendo earlier? Well, Nintendo has a habit of hating and attacking everyone, having fun in any way they didn't intend, including a man now going to pay for his entire life because he hacked and sold some unimportant information. Sure, he did perform a illegal action, the selling part, but 30% of his income for the rest of his life from every paycheck. He's not going to survive with that. Then there's another guy that they copyright struck and flagged for talking about Breath of the Wild with Tears of the Kingdom coming out soon. Another YouTuber, but Disney has a similar thing to do. They have denied children's last wishes to protect their brand. What were the wishes? Gravestones with Disney-owned characters on them. They denied dying children the wish to be protected by their favorite Marvel superhero or be looked upon by one of their princesses. But this ain't really about them. I'm just saying, these companies are so huge, they're god-awful. What I want to talk about is Wizards, and talk to you about what you can do about it. Really, it's very simple. Something many of you, including myself, have done. What is it? Permanent boycott. I personally have stopped buying anything from Wizards of the Coast, and I've tried to cut out anything from Hasbro, too. Hell, I want to buy the Transformers RPG, but I haven't. Why? It's not owned by Hasbro, is it? No, but Renegade is licensed by them, so I don't want to touch it and give them numbers. I want to do a review on the Power Rangers game as well, that did so poorly. But I don't want Hasbro to see my numbers and think of it as a good sign. But what can you play if you aren't going to be putting money into Wizards of the Coast, Dungeons & Dragons, or Magic the Gathering? Well, let's go down the list. Let's start with card games. I've tried out one that I find myself liking, though I'm not a cards kind of guy, except for, poker cards. Vanguard is pretty fun for you weebs out there. There's even a show that ties into it. Does it make sense? Probably, but I actually don't like anime either. But most of my players like both, so I take their words on it. But if you want something more fantasy-themed, like Magic the Gathering, why not look into Pathfinder Adventure card game? Admittedly, you'll probably have trouble finding it at your local shop. The card game is no longer being printed as of 2022. It finished, but the cards are still available on Paizo's website, and some stores may still have some. In all honesty, I liked that when I bought books from Paizo, I used to get these little goblin cards too. Taught me their songs, which I actually use in my games. But there has to be more, right? Perhaps in print? Well, Yu-Gi-Oh! And Pokemon, but what about lesser known ones? There's Square Enix's Chocobo Crystal Hunt, which seems ideal with 3 or more players, taking 10 to 20 minutes on average. Who doesn't like Final Fantasy? If you've been playing D&D for a while now, you may recognize Legend of the Five Rings, which is a game I once played a long time ago, so I don't know if it's the same anymore. Does it still have the honor token system and the gambling with it? I might get back into it. Boss Monster is a fun one, though it's not really a trading card game. I played it with my roommates back in Indiana. We had a time and a half with this one, though they all targeted me by their own words. I was unpredictable, which honestly, understandable. I never played games to win, I played them to have fun. And there's a whole lot more not owned by Hasbro, so check them out. But what about tabletop RPGs? Well, look at my channel. Most of what I do is reviewing tabletop games that aren't Dungeons and Dragons now. What do you want? Fantasy? Well, there's Warhammer, Pathfinder, Savage Worlds, just off the top of my mind. Sci-fi? Again, Savage Worlds, Fate, Shadowrun. Horror, Call of Cthulhu with a nice touch of World of Darkness, and Savage Worlds, and again, Warhammer is an option too. What about more of a video game vibe? Well, Shadowrun has some video games, a lot of them, actually. Fallout tabletop RPG exists, and there's Pathfinder adventure paths, which do take a video game sort of look at things. You want superhuman powers? Mutants and Masterminds, and the recent superhero companion setting for Savage Worlds. Hell, there's a ton and a half, plenty of options. And don't give me that stupid idea that you don't have time to learn new systems. It takes me about a week or two to learn a new system, after getting the core book, sometimes books, to know how to run a system. If you have time to play a game once a week, you've got time to teach yourself the game. Here's how I do it. Step 1. Get the book and read the chapter, or in some cases chapters, about how to create a character. I usually watch videos explaining how to make a character too to help me out. Step 2. Learn how the dice systems works. Is it a dice pool like Shadowrun or Warhammer Wrath and Glory? Or is it an evolving dice system like Savage Worlds? Perhaps a 2d20 system like Fallout or Star Trek? Or maybe a 2d6 system like Avatar Legends? Step 3. Look shit up as you need it. In all honesty, when you learn how the dice system works and what's on the character sheet, you'll probably be able to figure out most of it by the seat of your pants. The only one I can argue you might not be able to are the Magpie games like Avatar Legends, which it's one thing connected to another thing in order to do a third thing. It's weird. Hell, your players are more than likely going to be story-focused rather than caring about the game mechanics themselves, as most players do. They just don't give much of a shit about the mechanics. Sure, some games have a lot more mechanics than others, but to be fair, a bit of YouTube can help you out. Like I said, 2 weeks in the Maple Table for hours on end essentially taught me StarFinder, and I'm doing the same with Vampire the Masquerade. You can learn a new game. Your players can learn a new game. Every single one of my friends I run games for, whether it's Pathfinder or Starfinder or Call of Cthulhu or even Saloon, I taught them all of those, usually in a single day. So to end this off, go out there, try something new, don't give Hasbro your money, and now, shove off.